Yeah, first of all, please excuse me for being such an amateur, but this is Radha Nila Madhava. They have been on so many Sobayatras. I'll tell you how many. You can count them. About 15 a year, 15 a year for about 15 years. They've been out on Sobayatra. They've done Sobayatra in Delhi, in Janakpuri about 3 or 4 times. Yes. This is Chittaranjana's work. Very good work. Yeah, the real reason I'm doing this is that I just put on their cloth. This is nanoparticle infused copper oxide. Oxide. Copper oxide. And, excuse me, Krista, you don't have your flute. Woo! I took everything off of them, washed them, you can see nice shiny, and then dressed them up. The cloth is continuous. I don't want to make seams in it. I don't want anything like that. When they were here in their Raj Leela, that's what they wore. Continuous. No seams. You trust the weaver who's working the string, because the weaver, he makes his own string. Yeah, I've seen them. They make their own string, and then they dye their own string, and then they put their own string to make a cloth. So this is the embroidery stuff and the seams and everything. That came later on. Around, I would say, they say the Mongols, or you could say the Muslims, the Mongols, when they came, they were into embroidering. So they brought embroidering into India. Before that, it was seamless. And that's, maybe there was some persons who had gotten from the traders. But here in India, it wasn't being made, because every little stitch has to be done with good consciousness, Yeah, that you put your consciousness into it. So the weaver class were the class, respected for their way of doing things and their thoughts. And there is Ananta Dev behind, and then Lord Nrsingadev. This is a certain stance that Lord Nrsingadev had just before jumping on Hiranyakasipu and with his nails tearing him apart. This is a very special. I think it's called stana or something like that. But the pose is not used in many Nrsinga murtis, because if you don't worship him nicely, then he will be, he won't be too happy with you. So, but here in Vrindavan, he cannot use his astra, the weapons, the astra weapons that are for fighting and defending and this, that, and the other. No. He can only use his astra of chanting Hare Krishna and Sankirtan and so on, Prem Bhakti astra. So this Nrsingadev also has a Radharani, she's upstairs, and a Prahlad, of course. So I'm bathed him, bathed Anantadev, and now they're back, and I gave him a belt. Every fighter likes a belt. You ever seen that? The wrestlers always have a belt, especially the wrestlers that you see in the Las Vegas, the fake wrestlers. And I hate to say it, but in his young age, there was a young man that really wanted to be the best of all of these wrestlers, that, fake wrestlers, And so he really was trying hard and hard, but he just didn't make it. His name was Trump. But being that the case, he made a lot of friends in Las Vegas. And that was the first place he got, backing for his campaign this time. The big donation came from Las Vegas because they remember and they know how fake he talks and how fake he acts. It's just the whole thing is just an ongoing fakeness. You know, just like they are going to try to kill each other, but they don't kill each other. No, just all fake. So that he's just carrying that out now. Yeah. And then here is Nimai and Vishnupriya. Yeah, I have them in this pose because this is their marriage bed. In Indian society, you make a special bed for the marriage. And then after the marriage, that bed is taken to the husband's house where the wife is going to live. So they're in this pose, because in this pose every night the mercy that they gave is not measurable. The mercy that they gave when they were in their marriage bed at night is not measurable. Because even Lord Nityananda, who didn't get to see anything of the Ras Leela or anything of Krishna in that mood, he was there every night for 1 year. For a whole year, Nityananda was there to see Nimai, Krishna, at night with Radha, Vishnupriya. And this is the only time that he actually revealed that. The rest of the 23 hours, or, maybe it lasted longer than that, maybe about 4 hours at night. So about the next 20 hours, it would not be ever revealed to anybody. So, it was revealed in such a mood that the mother of Vrindavan Das Thakur, Narayani, she was there. Also Lochan Das Thakur, who wrote just one day of that Leela that was being broadcast at that time. And also Damodar, who was the brother of Vishnupriya. And when he was 5 years old, and she brought him to where she was going to live. So he's a young boy and everything, but still Damodar was able to see. And Sachima, of course, she was there, and probably others, So it was what Bhaktivinoda Thakur would say, the hidden, the hidden Leelas, the hidden Ras Leelas in Navadvip. They're safe. They're safe. The hidden Leelas in Navadvip are safe. And even the brother was able to see it. Because there's statements that in Krishna Leela, here in Vraj, what would happen is that Balaram would be looking for Krishna. And then he could see that some of these shaligrams were turning black. But if he saw any of the shaligrams turning a goldish color, then he knew that he was with Radha and he couldn't go see him. And the same thing when Radha would walk, if she saw that there were white shaligrams, which is Balaram. If there were white shaligrams on the path, then she knew that was Balaram and that she couldn't go see Krishna. So they maintained this, distance. They distanced themselves because of social norm and everything. But the Avadut Nityananda, in his pastimes as Nityananda, he didn't limit himself. He wanted to see those wonderful pastimes. So every night he was there with Nimai and Vishnupriya. So this is that pastime that trying to invoke, trying to meditate on and worship on. And it's a safe one. But now, their cloth that I'm making, and their cloth, it can be embroidered, it can be jeweled, it can do anything that's possible. You could do it. Anything. Why? Because they were in the time when the Mongols were the highest controllers in that area. I forget his whole name, Hussein. Okay, whatever. Okay, so that ruler that was there, sometimes he's looked badly on because he didn't want Sanatan Goswami and Rupa Goswami to leave, and it gave him trouble and everything. But actually, he was a wonderful person because he made everything that was in Sanskrit be translated, all the scriptures. He didn't destroy scriptures. He protected scriptures, and he put them in Bengali so they would last longer. So his mood and everything was that, to protect the scriptures, protect the culture of the people there, and all this. So he was like a perfected ruler, especially. And at that time it was like that. Because Jiva Goswami and the ruler there in Agra, when he found out that Jiva Goswami was such a great scholar and everything, he gave him unlimited paper. Now, we don't think so much about that, but back then, unlimited paper. He could just, if he needed to write, unlimited paper they would send him. So that's how the copies were made to be able to send to Navadvip. Yeah, so the rulers were Akbar. Akbar's father also had a tendency towards uniting the Hindus and the Muslims. And even then, Akbar, his son, he set up a place not inside of Agra, but some distance out. I think the name of the place is Fe, F-E, or around there. And in that place, he would have scholars come from both sides who were favorable to each other, and they would change ideas. So at that time, it was a very favorable time. Later on, the ruler, Aurangzeb, he wasn't so favorable at all. Well, yeah, okay. So, and then, of course, that's Radha and Krishna. I didn't give them any cloth. But I'm offering this cloth to them first. This cloth has nanoparticles in them. It has the copper oxide nanoparticles, and they make the cloth with the nanoparticles in there. The copper is used even, in any utensil, like a glass, a container for water, and this, that, and the other. It does have a danger if you leave the copper inside, if you leave water inside a copper container over 24 hours, you could get too much copper, and that will cause a bad reaction in you. So the same thing with the cloth. If you get there's always some type of danger, and it isn't because of the nature of copper. It's because of the nature of the age, and also how it is harvested. When you harvest the copper, it may not be in its last stage, especially if you mine it or anything like that. The earth was pushing out gold, copper, everything, and you didn't have to do anything because you knew you could, use that for human existence in any way. But now, because they have to go into mines and mine it out and everything, then that copper, that gold, that metal has not gone through the process that they're called veins. They're the veins of Mother Earth, and they have not gone through the whole process to come to the surface. Yeah, she can push everything out to the surface. So they haven't gone through all that process to come out to the surface, so there's some difficulty. Like gold, you have to burn the gold 200 times to ashes, burn it to ashes, before you can actually use it for any medical thing. And it's very good for the brain, strengthens the brain. And silver, the whole thing with silver too. The silver is really medicinal and everything, but the silver that we are able to get is not safe. It has some things that are not safe, and it's considered, because it's not for humans, okay? When Mother Earth wants to give it to you, it comes to the surface, you take it, you use it, and it is human. So what is that human thing? Well, the unhuman thing is that the copper oxide that is going to be produced and everything, that can cause leaching. Leaching means it sticks. A leach sticks. So the leach will, the copper will stick in your liver. And why does it stick there? Because there's no communication between our human body and the copper. The copper does not contain the last stage of communication. And the stomach and the liver, they can't sense that communication, so they just leave it alone. So of course it accumulates in that area, especially in the liver, and gives trouble. But if it was to come to the surface by the laws of, Mother Earth and her love for us, then that copper, that gold, that silver would have no bad effects for the living entity, because it would have that identification that this is human. Mining, especially strip mining, is horrible for the earth. Just horrible how they strip mine. They just, they ruin everything only for a little bit of metal. Just for a little bit of metal, they destroy so much. Yeah. So that's not human. And that's not the way that Mother Earth would like us to have it. And there was edible copper. I've already said it. A king here in India had edible gold, and he would take it to Egypt so that they could put it into their batteries and, eat it too. Put it into their batteries. And also you can trace it back to Jesus Christ. They brought him gold, So it isn't just that gold is, just for money. Right now it's just used as a money thing. But actually it was high medicinal. It was for helping your brain work on different levels. It was helping to, the electrical connections in your brain were enhanced by the gold. And you could get higher states of consciousness just by the gold. Okay, so it's as you can see, it's around 5:30, and it's time to go do Vishnu Sahasranam. And I hope, I'm going to send this to the makers of the copper oxide, because I really do want, I can't guarantee anything. I mean, I tested my cloth because I also wanted to see if it could act as a Faraday cage. A Faraday cage, it shuts off all the bad, frequencies. It'll shut them off. But because these are nanoparticles and they're only randomly in the cloth, and they aren't like a full connection, like a wire or anything like that, then that function as a Faraday cage is lowered, is not gone, but it's lowered. At every point that frequency wants to go through and it hits the copper, it doesn't go through. So you can say that it has been diminished. It hasn't been, stopped, but it has been diminished. So I'm glad about that too, because, the rays that they're emitting and everything, I'll put this on my window. I'll put this in my room, just hanging in my room. And I've already put out another video, and I can put out a link in the description. But it's not that costly. Yeah, it's not that costly at all. Okay, let's see.